What it do, what it do, what it do? It's your boy D. It's another day to be ungrateful. Let's just get right into this. Really goes without saying, a lot of married men probably have regrets, and as someone who's never been married and ultimately has seen how marriage tends to pan out for men, I'm curious to see what the secret regrets of married men are. So let's get right into it.
When I was a kid, I was every advertiser's dream. I would see a toy or something that I wanted on TV or in a comic book, and oh man, I would just fall for it. You know, hook, line, and sinker. I remember there was this one, army set that I really wanted. I saw it in the back of a comic book. And it just captured my imagination. This thing had soldiers and ships and tanks. I mean, it had it all. I could have the best play war game on the planet. And it had this three-dimensional island set. I mean, I was in. And this was like in 1973 or 1974. And so I had to clip the order form from the comic book, stick it in an envelope with my $9.99, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then, $10 was a lot of money. That took weeks and weeks and weeks for me to earn that kind of money at that age. And then the ad said I had to wait 4 to 6 weeks, but because I lived in Hawaii, it took months for that damn thing to arrive. Yeah, I was expecting a huge ass box, but what actually finally showed up was this teeny tiny little box.
Sounds like buyer remorse.
As you might guess, what was inside was not what I was expecting. This is buyer's regret. Yeah, those toys were not what I had hoped for. They were extremely disappointing. And those advertisers knew they were misrepresenting their product. And I, as a kid, was just too much pride to admit to myself that I had made a terrible mistake. And I certainly wasn't going to admit it to my mother or my father or to anyone else. I was just going to go with it and act like this was exactly what I had in mind. And I played with that damn toy as much as I possibly could. But I knew every time I opened it up that it was a disappointment.
Yikes. All right. So, yeah, that's crazy because really pretty much what he's getting at, if you ask married guys who are not in happy marriages, for whatever reason, I just feel I could be wrong. I feel like married men don't really open up on if they're unhappy in their marriage because they like to put on this facade they married the right person or ultimately there's no problems in the relationship. Because I feel, look, as humans, the truth hurts, and we cope in a bunch of different ways. Ultimately, most of us humans would like to avoid the uncomfortable truths at all costs. And that's pretty much what's going on there. Avoiding the uncomfortable truth that, I married the wrong person. I'm just going to have to deal with this product or get wrecked in divorce court. So that's what it sounds like. I feel like it sounds like he's going with this.
There is nothing like buyer's regret, especially for something that you have such high expectations for. Buying a car, get it home. After a few months, you realize maybe it was the wrong car. Maybe you should have done more research. Buying a house, all excited, you think you're getting what you want, and it's not. Well, there is no buyer's remorse quite like marrying the wrong woman. And I think that happens a lot more often than people realize.
Damn, no.
I remember seeing a survey where men, when asked if they had any regrets about getting married, over 50% said that they had at some point experienced some level of regret for getting married. So today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why men regret it and why secretly I think most men really would rather be single. So let's get into it.
I don't know. I feel like most guys are hip now. Like the whole idea of marriage doesn't even sound fascinating or intriguing or a good deal. If anything, it just sounds like a terrible deal. So like, look, hopefully my dad doesn't watch these videos and hopefully he doesn't know my channel because I don't mean to put your business out on the street, but at the end of the day, I've seen my mom, dad get divorced. Dad's going through a second divorce. And at the end of the day, man, it's just the writing's on the wall. And I feel like a lot of, people in my age bracket, like Gen Zers, we see the writing on the wall and we see that, like, because we learned from really our Gen X parents that at the end of the day, like, bro, I really don't think humans were designed to be with each other that long, obviously, because if we were, then it would fucking work out, bro. I don't think humans are really monogamous by nature, to be completely honest. I think that's more of a societal thing that they kind of put on us. But that's neither here nor there. The ball and chain.
If you've ever walked into a room through a door that automatically closes behind you, and then you go back to check and realize that door is locked, that's kind of what it's like when you realize you've married the wrong woman.
Damn.
There is a combination of terror and that rationality that hits you when you realize, I've got to figure this shit out. Because I have no way
Here, 1 second. And we're back.
out unless I can figure out how I'm going to get out of here. And that's kind of what it's like. I think the regrets that come are inevitable. Even in a reasonably good marriage, I think a lot of guys still regret getting married. And it's not even necessarily about the woman. Sometimes it's just about the institution itself.
Right.
For example, I think that the lack of autonomy and independence that men feel when they get married is universal. And you don't notice it at first, because nobody gets married with the intention of being miserable. We all get married thinking we're going to be making our lives better. After a couple of years...
I'm really curious, though. Like, what... I really feel like deep down inside, a lot of men get married just to, one, societal expectations, having a family, a house, kids, all that good stuff. And then on top of that, ultimately to avoid just being alone, because I feel like a lot of men are uncomfortable being alone. All I really know is being alone, so that's why I'm very comfortable with it. And look, this is just my belief, but I feel like today, I don't feel like throughout the history of time it was this way, but I feel like today in this day and age, men ultimately are better off just single. With the women we have in this day and age and the times that we live in economically, I feel like most men just are better off being single. Women, I mean, at the end of the day, marriage really only benefits a woman. And it's really always kind of been like that. Like, when has marriage ever really benefited a man? And if so, how? I'm curious to see how and when in the comments below if you guys know. Because
you realize that this isn't any better than it was before. I mean, maybe you have a steady supply of intimacy, we'll say, but...
And that reason too.
Becoming less
That's
and less
another
frequent
reason.
all the time. And now you're no longer a single person. You're no longer able to go out and be yourself by yourself. Every time you leave the house, or frequently, you're either checking in, checking out, or you're bringing someone along with you. So there's no sense of spontaneity. Your life now is revolving around this other person. Now maybe that's what people want. Maybe that's something that people hope for and they expect. But I think most guys get into it not realizing that's going to happen to them, that they're now kind of tied to this other human being. They call it the ball and chain, and I know that that's sort of a half joke, but really it kind of is a ball and chain, because every time you move or go do something or don't do something or whatever, you're either having to get permission, give notice, or something, or bring her along. And no matter how much you love her, that gets tiresome. I mean, that truly gets tiresome after a while.
Yeah, I can see how that would. Yeah.
All relationships have some degree of stress. Just living in close proximity with another human being can be a little stressful for anyone. Well, when you layer on top of that all that goes along with being married, the stress associated with that relationship is extraordinary. It's unique. It requires a whole new level of emotional maturity that most people are not aware they're going to need when they get into the relationship. Now, if both people identify this need for emotional maturity and are able to make strides toward it and achieving that level of emotional maturity, that's great, because I think there's a way to make it work. But I think that it catches most people off guard. And if both people, like I said, aren't on board with achieving this new level of emotional maturity, it gets pretty tiresome, because now you're in a relationship with somebody who maybe is very self-centered. Maybe she is very not in accordance with the level of compromise that is necessary to make this relationship.
And keep in mind, guys, like, I really like watching these type of videos and watch people who have, came before us. And, he's probably about 50 years old, late 40s, maybe 50, maybe even 60. He's lived it, he's been there, he's done that. So why would I not listen to people like this? Why would I not listen to my elders? Society wouldn't want me to listen to him, though, because it's going against the overall agenda. I mean, at the end of the day, really, the government wants to promote spending, and at the end of the day, married people tend to spend the most because they kind of live that traditional, keeping up with the Joneses type of lifestyle, and that's ultimately what the government wants. So, would I want more stress in my life? Absolutely not. And that's what this sounds like. Marriage really is just more stress in your life, bro, unnecessarily.
Relationship work, and she's just
and the state
friction
literally in your life, and the government in your life.
Everything that you say, it's just a constant pushback. That friction wears on you after a while. It really does. It gets really, really tough to even wake up in the morning sometimes when you know you're going to be dealing with somebody who is constantly pushing back against you. It turns into this lack of respect. Then you know that once that lack of respect starts to occur, that she no longer loves you. So you kind of know in the back of your mind that you're in this relationship that's doomed if you're experiencing that lack of respect on a regular basis. And and all you want is out. You just want to get out.
But it ain't that easy, though.
Then there's
That's
the
the shitty
inevitable
part.
role that you take on as a husband. And you may have to take on a role as a father too. So these are roles that you're going to have to learn and you're going to have to conform to some degree. Because as a husband, you're expected to behave in certain ways and provide certain amenities, almost like a hotel. Like when you go to an Airbnb, you expect there to be towels and sheets. Well, as a husband, you're expected to provide, financial support, emotional support, and a lot of other kinds of expectations. Like, for example, running errands, picking up things, doing
just traditional gender
chores,
roles type shit,
and doing it without any pushback. You just have to suck it up and just do it because that's what she wants done. And that really wears on you too. Not having the ability to be your authentic self on a regular basis and just live your own life the way you would want to live it can be very limiting. It can make you feel like you're literally in prison. Every woman that I've ever met has some vision for how her household is going to be, what her home is going to be like. They are nesters. Men, a house is a functional space. It's not necessarily a work of art. It's something that we use as necessary to accommodate our needs for comfort and food.
No, 100%. I can attest to this because at the end of the day, my mom is the absolute definition of a nester. Her crib, bro. She want that shit spotless. You know what I'm saying? If you leave one crumb on the counter, that's your ass. I remember back in high school, I forgot to take the trash out one time. I was grounded for a whole week. And I couldn't even go to basketball practice. And then when I got back to basketball practice, I remember everybody would laugh at me It's like, hey, did you remember to take out the trash? Because they were just like, it's crazy. Like, you really can't go to basketball practice, so you got to take out the trash. So, end of the day, I've seen the extremes of what nesters of women can be like. And ultimately, based on at least on my experience with my mom and stuff, uh, women are very attention to detail, and they're very over the top and get very emotional over the most minute things ever, bro. So I get it.
Women see it as some kind of like a museum, like you go to an art museum, and they want it to be representative of who they are. Like if you walk into a woman's house and it looks crappy, she takes it personally. It doesn't just have to look nice in terms of having nice furniture and nice things in it, but it's got to be clean and kept very, very orderly. And women take this stuff extremely personally. And if you can't conform to what her vision is of that house, well, your life is going to be miserable. Not that it isn't
Holy shit, he hit the nail on the head, bro. I love my mom and shit, but at the end of the day, that perfectly described what it was like living with my mom, bro.
But you're going to experience a lot more discomfort associated with that. Men love financial independence, and when you're married, you lose a little bit of your financial independence. You're going to have to deal with her needs for access to your money, and that can be extremely problematic, because if you've got goals to save money for retirement, or you have some vision for what you want to do with your money in the future, well, that may get pushed to the back burner.
Well, fuck your vision. It's all about fucking me. That's what it sounds like. What a terrible deal. Anyone who gets married these days, like, bro, you just need to hop on YouTube, dog. That's all you need to do. Just hop on YouTube, dog.
While she's achieving whatever it is that she thinks she needs to do. And it could be anything from, decorating the house, which of course is a primary, having an extra car. It could be, additional babysitting services for children. It could be vacations that she wants to take because she wants to post something on Instagram. But you get the idea. Suddenly, your money is at risk. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys saying, well, you just set up your boundaries and you just say this and that and you push them around. Well, that just leads to more and more misery. It literally comes down to your choice of either staying in the marriage or getting divorced. And of course, if you get divorced, well, then now your assets and maybe even your children are at risk. So the deeper you get into this relationship and you go along with it, the more committed you are to it, financially, emotionally, psychologically, etc., the harder it is to get out. The harder it is just to say, screw this, I'm done, I'm leaving.
And plus, on top of that, it's not like you have any incentive to leave as a man anyways. You don't have incentive to break your contract, break the marriage contract. Only women do. So, like, from the jump, bro, I don't understand why any men get married anymore. You can be with someone without having to stay in your life and having the legal responsibility and the financial responsibility of marriage. So, like, you can be together and you don't have to put a ring on it. There has to be this official thing at the end of the day. And if the woman isn't willing to do that with you, then she don't really like you like that, dog. So, and just sees you as a meal ticket.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of guys out there that are really regretting their decision to get married. One of the things that most men don't think they're going to have to face is emotional vulnerability. You think you've taken this woman on as a partner and she's on your team, she's on your side. And she is, so long as everything's going the way she wants it to go. When things stop going her way, you're going to find that she has the ability to use tools that you didn't even know existed to cause you pain and discomfort. And one of them is by attacking your emotions in ways that are, I don't know, they're diabolical. By withholding affection, by giving you the silent treatment, by being critical, by judging you, by nagging you, by showing disrespect. All of these little things just eat away at your self-esteem after a while. They start to tear you down. And women can do this better than anyone. Women are very good communicators, and they are very emotionally aware. So they know what words trigger which emotions. And if you've been living with a woman for a while, she knows you well enough to know what words are going to push your buttons. And she knows how to get an emotional effect from you that you didn't even know existed. And it's like a jujitsu. It's like they can perform this emotional jujitsu on you that will tie you up in knots and make you wonder what the hell you're doing with this insane person. But like I said, once you're in, you're in. And it's really tough to get out. That door slammed behind you. I remember when we moved into our house a couple houses ago. So we were married. We moved into this big-ass house. Basement's not finished. And we want to get it finished. Well, from our old house, we moved what's known as a projection TV. And for those of you who have not seen one of these things, they are enormous. So this was like the first HD TV. And so I wanted to get one of these things to watch my football games on. And it was like 55 inches across, which by today's standards isn't that big. But back then, 55 inches was a lot. This was like in 2001, 2002. So it was a high definition projection TV. And this thing weighed about 500 pounds. I kid you not. And it was huge. It was huge. It had this giant cabinet that it sat in. So the movers put that thing in the basement because I knew that's where I was going to build my man cave, is in the basement. And so, the construction guys came and they finished out the basement and put up drywall and trim and carpeting, and the basement was just exquisite. I think we spent like $30,000 or $40,000. It was a great addition to the house, and I was excited as I could be to finally be able to crank up my TV. And that was great. And that went on for a few years, and it was a good situation. But technology moved on, and it became apparent that these flat panel TVs were a much better way to go. The prices came down, and for $1,000 you could get a 60-inch TV or a 65-inch TV. So it was relatively inexpensive. And so I said, I'm going to get one of these big-ass TVs. I'm going to hang it on the wall. But now I had to get this giant TV out of the basement. And guess what? It wouldn't fit. No. When they finished the basement, that TV was in it. And there was no getting it out of the basement in one piece. I had to literally take that thing apart to get it out. That's what marriage is like. It's like you've built your entire world around it, and now there's no way out. And you're gonna have to take it apart. You gotta take.
Bro, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, bro. I'm feeling uneasy even just like listening to this, because bro, like I really believe every word this guy's saying. Obviously, it's his biased opinion based off of his past experience of marriage or whatnot. So he may be a little jaded, all that good stuff. But I mean, this story is it's far too common, man. It's far too common. It's far too common. I still, again, will give someone the opportunity to let me know how marriage benefits men any way, shape, or form in the comments down below, because I am very eager to hear that.
Thing apart to get it out, because you're in. Yeah, you're definitely in. Once things start going bad, then you start wondering about infidelity. You start thinking, is she seeing someone else? I mean, if she's not having sex with you, she's not talking with you, now maybe she's spending a little extra time at work. Maybe she's got some friends that you don't know very well that she's going out to see. And you're wondering, are you just being set up for the big fall? Is she already monkey branching to somebody else? So as you can see, this whole marriage thing is loaded with reasons for regret. It's a full-time job. If you're going to get into a marriage, you've got to commit 100% all the time to it. And building your frame out long before you bring a woman into it. You have got to have created your world so solid and firm and unmovable that no matter what a woman does or comes into your world or how she comes into the world, you're in full control of all aspects of it. But if you're a young guy like I was, and you get...
I mean, nigga, you're not gonna be young and doing that shit, but we get the point, bro. Yeah, it don't sound too good. at all. All right, let's see here. She'll never divorce me, said every man at the wedding. Yeah, 100%. About 20 years ago, I had a female friend, no, really just a friend, and two of her kids dropped by my place. As we walked through the kitchen, the 5-year-old asked, "Why is your bicycle in the kitchen?" My immediate reply was, "Because I'm not married." The kid was too young to understand, but the mom laughed loudly. She knew. I'm dead, bro. I guess, yeah, if you were married, that wouldn't fly, huh? Damn. So pretty much all your freedom and autonomy out the door was marriage. Okay. And on top of that, ultimately, the state is in your life. There may be a few tax benefits for being married and having dependents and stuff for your kids and stuff. Sure. But ultimately, it's the one agreement where women ultimately get rewarded for breaking the agreement. So it doesn't make any sense at all. Asian guy here, badly pressured to have an arranged marriage years ago. After a lot of arguments with my parents, I am now in my 50s and very happily single. Many of my Asian male friends are divorced and broken. I regret nothing. Yeah, like getting forcing someone to marry someone, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Learn to be alone. Happiness comes from within. Right, straight like that, bro. You can marry the right woman and find out later she's the wrong one when she changes due to hormonal changes, postpartum, menopause, head meds, etc. Yeah, like, bro. Like, at the end of the day, like, things just change. Nothing's the same, bro. Because the same girl that you would marry, bro, is really, at the end of the day, probably not the same girl that you would divorce, and vice versa goes with the fucking women. I'm sure a lot of the time, for women, bro, a lot of the guys that they initially married aren't the same guys they ended up divorcing, bro. So it goes both ways. I just don't think humans are designed to be monogamous. But the reason why women get most of the flack is because at the end of the day, they're the ones that ultimately benefit from divorce and marriage. I will never provide financial support to someone who is fully capable of providing it for themselves. This is not the 1950s. I'm not anyone's slave. 44 years ago, never married, no kids, and spend my life traveling, do whatever I want, whenever I want. I am not giving up my freedom for anyone. Yeah, I mean, because that's pretty much what it sounds like. When you get married, like, marriage sounds like you're just ultimately just putting your freedom on a silver platter and just being like, here you go. Do as you please with it. I am yours. I am your slave. Yes, massa. Yes, massa. Yes, 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 massa. If you guys are new here, subscribe, man. I'm hopping up out of this joint. I'll catch you guys in the next one.